it say that we didn't see Jalix? I would say that means they have Jalix as a entrenched starter for the year. That would be my takeaway. But we will see. All right, let's go to Johnny Mac. John McMullen joining me right now here on a JAKIB post-game show, our first of the year. Last time we had one of these, we were talking about a Super Bowl win, everybody. So enjoy this first one, even if it's a preseason game. Let's bring him up right now. Johnny Mac joins me here on JAKIB post-game show. J Mac, how you doing, brother? First game in the book, 34-27 to win. John, that felt like an action-packed preseason game to me, my friend.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting for a preseason game, especially early, because you had a shootout developing with Joe Burrow and Tanner McKee. So, especially early, it got a little sloppy late, but that's understandable. That tends to happen in preseason games. But yeah, I mean, Tanner McKee was phenomenal. Got to give him credit. A lot of positives, especially offensively. Defensively, obviously the cornerbacks didn't look great, but that's a great quarterback on the other side, maybe the best receiver in football. So you have to put that context on it, and just talk to Keely. He knows what went wrong. He sort of overran, over pursued, and Chase is the last guy you want to over pursue on, and he's able to pivot.
Was he in good spirits, John? Did it seem like he was like down about it or what?
No. He's very accountable, very James Bradbury like in that, even James, when he got the penalty in the Super Bowl, was accountable. Kaylee's like the same way. So, but Kaylee and Adoree Jackson did not play well. So that's probably the biggest red flag in the game, I would say. But you found out a lot of things. I think a lot of people said, I've been saying for a while, Johnny Wilson's going to make this team and Anais Smith is going to make this team. And they are. And you kind of saw why tonight a little bit. And then Darius Cooper. That's
dude,
a guy
he's got to make the team. I've been talking about him all hour, dude. I've been talking about this guy all
hour. That's the kind of game where, again, we talked about Eli Ricks a couple of years ago, and Eli almost had a pick Ricks today. Should have had it.
He did. Should have had it for sure.
But that's the kind of game that other people will notice with Darius Cooper, and it might open the book in how he's saying, well, maybe I got to keep 6 receivers on this roster and sort of manipulate some other positions like tight ends, for instance, and try to do that a little bit of a different way. So if he keeps playing like that, he's going to be tough to cut. But, all this team does is win games. So, book those tickets to San Francisco, I guess.
Yep, good stuff. Johnny Mac, great initial takeaways. I want to dive into a couple of the names that you talked about. I have some things on my mind. You basically mentioned all the things that I want to talk to you about. We'll now dive a little bit deeper into them. Let's talk Kelee Ringo, John. First one that everybody's sounding the alarms on. Now, I'm not going to sound the alarm on him, John, because he's a young player. He doesn't have a lot of experience. So I'm not going to sit here and say he's never going to be good. But I am thinking about 2025, John. Forget the few. Can he be a guy this year? And you point out, hey, it's a great receiver and a great quarterback over there. And I'm looking at the first 4 games of the year, and I'm like, well, you're going to play a lot of great quarterbacks and a lot of great receivers this year. Like, this
not
is
like that.
Yeah, but you're going to play,
Yeah, but not like that. Not like that. I mean, I do think you have to that's the best quarterback wide receiver combination in football.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean, you're going to get beat. Adoree Jackson got beat by Jamar Chase. He got 4 passes. Yeah, he got 4 passes on 4 targets for 77 yards. And, it happened to be the big one against Keely. And Adoree got beat by Charlie, I got to look up his name, the backup receiver, for 23 yards. So it was not from that standpoint, it was the most positive for Bennett, who didn't play, because at least you have that uncertainty, and people say, well, maybe he can come in. But I really think you can't overreact and I know people are tired of hearing about it, but God damn, that's Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. It's
I
like
know. I
it's
know. I hear you. I
it's
just am wondering. It's like,
now
dude, you're gonna be the
now
starting corner, you know?
he can't overrun that play. That should have been like a 20-yard game, which is, you know, it's the next
Not great,
play.
but
It's
it's
not,
better than it's better than what happened.
yeah. So, and he knew it. As soon as I asked him the question, he knew it, and he over leveraged himself. And you got to maybe the best playmaker in football pivoting, and it's over at that point. Um, but I do, yeah, like you're not going to see that a lot. You're going to see good quarterbacks and good receivers, but you're not going to see that specifically. So I don't want to overstate it, but it wasn't a good performance by the corners. That's also fair to say. All
Yeah.
all the corners. I
Yeah.
thought, by the way, if Eli picks that off, he's in the conversation. The narrative changes because of
100%.
how poorly Ringo and Jackson played.
God, I
And
thought
now
Adoree'
Bennett,
was worse. Like, I know the splash play didn't happen against him, so people are, like you said, are talking about Ringo more. But
yeah,
I thought Adoree' looked like a fish out
yeah,
of
he was
water.
not good.
Like you
He was
said all
not
the time
good.
at camp, though. Keely was there. He just didn't make the play, but he was there. Adoree', like
Yeah.
to me, he didn't look like he knew where to be. He didn't look comfortable. He didn't look physical. He just didn't look the part to me.
Yeah, the one pass and what chased him is like a 5-yard cushion. He was,
Yeah.
and maybe that's the better way to play it as a veteran, but you're giving up significant yardage. But yeah, so I mean that's the one negative, and who knows if it's a full game, you got to make adjustments, and if they're out there for 60 minutes, it probably would be tough, but they're not in a position to handle receiver, and they got like that, and they got to pick it up pretty quickly. Whether it's Bennett or coming in, or whether it's Ricks getting an opportunity, but Ringo and Jackson are just not seizing the
Yeah.
opportunity right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to read the tea leaves. And again, we're going to move on in a second. I don't want to be so doom and gloom because you are right, John. I mean, there's an element of got to let it play out, but I'm kind of reading the tea leaves. Monday night, they make a big trade for a corner. Not a big trade. They send Thomas Booker, who's been a good piece here, bring in Jacorian Bennett. At first, I'm like, depth piece, who knows? Let's see what he does. I listened to Vic talk about the corners. Yeah, that's close. It's a close battle. Didn't really give glowing praise a week ago to either of the two corners. I don't know. Like, maybe they really want Jacorian Bennett to be the starter because they're seeing what we see, and that these guys aren't going to be good enough to be the cornerback too. Like I posed this question to the chat, John, before you came up. I don't need them to be a superstar, but are you comfortable with either of those two guys playing Quinyon Mitchell's role last year? Quinyon was the second cornerback on the team last year in this zone system.
Yeah.
Are you
Well, I've
comfortable?
said, I've been saying for a long time it's going to be tough to replace Slay. I've been saying
You
that
have
for a long time.
really like really long.
Because that is a really good, really smart, really savvy corner, 6-time Pro Bowl cornerback. Yes, he's getting older, but he played at a high level last year. And forget about Slay. I mean, Isaiah Rodgers as well played at a high level when he got his opportunity.
Yep.
So you lost both of those guys. And, Quinyon looks ready to, obviously he's a deference player, as I call him, so he's not playing today, but he's a guy who looks ready to take that next step and get even better. But that complementary, the 2 and the 3 spot at corner looks like it's much, there's a pretty big downgrade from where it was last year. That's why I'm a little bit more concerned with the defense than most people are, because, they lost a lot of good players, and some guys might step up. Moro Jomo being the most, probable, and from that standpoint. But I think if you go player for player of the players you lost, it's very unlikely that you're going to have any of those positions perform like they performed last year, because everybody had a big season. Everybody had an up season. not a down season. From Milton to Sweat to Slay to Isaiah, even Oren Burks, who was out there tonight, CJ, who luckily there was conflicting reports he might have torn his ACL. Now it looks like it might be less serious. So hopefully for CJ, he'll be able to get back. But they lost a lot of good players.
Yeah, you're right, man.
Who played well last year. And that's going to be tough to replace.
No doubt about it. Let's keep rolling on, Johnny Mac. Let's go to the other side of the ball for a second. We got to get a little positive now, Johnny Mac. How about Tanner McKee? And I'm not just going to go to the stat. I love the way he plays the position. He's so in control. He has such a good awareness in the pocket of when pressure's coming, when to roll out, when to move, when to throw the ball away. That one throw early in the game, John, he stepped around Pryor, who was at the right tackle. I forget who the receiver was. It might have been Darius Cooper on the right sideline. He almost sidearmed. That ball was on a rope, and I just like the way he plays the position. I thought Tanner McKee was awesome tonight. What'd you see from tonight's quarterback one?
Yeah, I mean, he was great. There's no two ways about it. I'm surprised how long he played into the third quarter. So, because I had asked Nick that on Tuesday, and he was sort of like hemming and hawing, saying, well, practice reps are meaningful. And I'm saying, is this guy going to get, a series or two like Jalen Hurts would get? And then they go to Dorian Thompson. But they played him into the third quarter, and, he was hot. And
is there any thinking of around that could be like maybe they're trying to boost the trade capital even more, or no? I don't think they would trade him.
They are not trading.
I want to make sure that you weren't thinking that.
I know I'm going to get that question. They are not trading Tanner McKee.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Did you see who played after Tanner McKee? They're not ready. They're not ready to play.
No.
In the history of Jalen Hurts, he started for 4 years. 1 year he played all 17 games. So he, haven't been major, like 2 games every year.
Right.
But, if history repeats itself, you're going to need somebody to play for 1 or 2 games, and those guys aren't ready. So, down the road, if they develop Kyle McCord, who did not look good tonight, and a little disappointed from my standpoint because I wanted to see him play.
Me too.
But again, he's in there with the late moments of the game, the sloppiness, the players that next week they'll probably flip it and he'll get in for Thompson Robinson's. He'll go in first, is how they usually do it, and that'll be a bigger test. And I don't think Tanner will play as much as he did in this game, especially with the 2 practices with Cleveland coming up. So I don't think he'll play as much. But, yeah, he was great. And Cooper, that's the first game he played. So, I mean, he's been doing that in practice like every day now. He's been making plays and getting separation to the point where you're like, hey, guys, scouts, don't scout the helmet. That's what they always tell me. Don't scout the helmet. Well, they scouted the helmet because he went to Tarleton State.
Yeah.
And he didn't go to Alabama. But guess what? He was second in Division I in receiving yards. He was an All-American. Dude can play.
There's no way I would get rid of that player. Like you just said about Jalen Hurts. And again, it's a little bit of a different scenario with a receiver. A.J. Brown missed 4 games last year. Devontae Smith missed 3 games last year. You're really not going to keep – now that guy is a guy I'd feel better about at outside receiver.
He's not. I don't want to overstate. He's not AJ or Devontae, but
no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying though, we talked about a viable depth piece that can play the outside.
Here's the most impressive thing about Tanner McKee tonight for me. Have you ever seen? And that's why I put Cooper to the side because that's his first game. But have you ever seen Johnny Wilson or Ainias Smith be more effective than they were tonight?
No.
No, that was a quarterback elevating. We always talk about quarterback. Aaron Rodgers in his prime is the guy I always point to. Elevated everybody. Everybody. It's a preseason game. A lot of it's against backup players, but in that environment, Tanner McKee elevated everybody. And there were throws. I mean, there were a couple throws he missed, and it could have been even better. Not many, but I've never seen Johnny Wilson play like that.
No,
Never. I've never seen Anais Smith play like that as a receiver. He had a good punt return too. And he only had 2 catches, but he had the touchdown. But you could see him involved, and he's more confident in himself. So that to me is, he's making other people better. That's a positive sign with the quarterback. But they're not going to trade him, guys.
No, and that we shouldn't. Nobody should even want that. I mean, what the heck? What? I wondered it earlier. That was the thing I wondered with the third quarter thing. I'm like, all right. I mean, now what's the point? Like, are they trying to boost it? But I agree. I quickly came off that. John, keep rolling down. The next name I have on my list I wanted to talk to you about, and you kind of mentioned him a little bit there, but Johnny Wilson, dude, how about some of those catches that he had tonight, man? Finally using that big frame that he's got, John. I've been wanting to do that. Finally using those hands, reaching out, going and getting the football, using the size. And obviously, Tanner McKee delivered him some perfect footballs. But I thought Johnny Wilson had some really, really special catches tonight. That was good.
Yeah, that's the thing about Johnny. He's got to use that size, and he really hasn't. Everybody says it. Tanner said it after the game. He's like, he uses the size so well. Well, he did today, but he hasn't typically.
Right. But you see what he can do if he does use that size. It's a mismatch on everybody.
Yeah, and you can just throw those 50-50 balls and feel comfortable letting them go up. But, I think you saw why he's going to make this team. Like I said, you saw why Anais is going to make this team. And now Darius Cooper's kind of making a case to keep him around because you don't want to lose him on waivers. So still a long way to go. Darius Cooper's going to get plenty more playing time. And unfortunately, it might be with Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Kyle McCord. So the numbers probably aren't going to look as good. But the coaches know, and if he continues to play in practice the way he's been playing in practice, that dude just gets separation all the time.
He did all night tonight. I mean, every play they needed him, he was open. He got open.
Yeah.
And there were tight windows, it was physical routes. I love the way, I don't know. You might call me crazy at this, but I'm not talking about talent standpoint. I'm talking about style of play. I saw like a fusion of the way Debo plays and the way AJ plays. Not talent. I'm talking about the way they played the position. That's kind of the way I saw him, just in a small sample size, the way he played tonight. You think I'm way off with that or what?
Well, yeah, I think AJ's a Hall of Famer. And
I know.
I think Debo's a very unique player. Like, I don't compare. I don't like Darius is a receiver. Like, I think he's a better receiver.
Well, that's why I added in AJ Brown.
But
he's like Debo, but he plays like AJ.
But he runs routes, and he's not really a manufactured. Like, Debo's a manufactured touch player. Debo's phenomenal when you get the ball. He's not. That's not what Cooper is. Darius Cooper. So I don't necessarily see that. Now he's stocky, if that's what you mean.
I meant Debo's size plays the position like AJ, though. That's kind of where it came from, because he's definitely not a manufacturer.
He's short, so he's got some limitations from that standpoint. He's only 5'11", and I don't know what Debo is, but he's bigger than that. But yeah, so Debo's a very unique player. I'll say that. I'm not a big fan because you need Kyle Shanahan to take advantage of it. But
yeah, we'll see if Commanders can do it. John, let's keep rolling. I want to talk to you about Kevin Petula, who I thought called a great game tonight. I really did. I thought he called. And the other part about it was, John, this is kind of a, an empty comment, but I'm still going to make it. there's like a little bit of an eye test to a coach. Some coaches just like look like a damn coordinator. They just like look like they're meant to be holding a play sheet, calling plays. He looked the part, and the results were great as well. I thought he called an awesome game, his first game, holding the play sheet.
Yeah, I if people listen to my pregame, I love Kevin Petullo, so I'm above board. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's a great communicator. I think he's going to be a good offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. But I'm not wavering off what I said pregame. There's no play. You're not going to get a feel for play calling in this game because they didn't game plan at all for
Right.
1 second. This is just about running plays you had on the sheet and going through it. So, if you go back to everybody considers Shane Steichen the best offensive coordinator pretty much of the Nick Sirianni era. He had a great feel for in-game. You're not going to get that part of it until the regular season. You're just not. And there's going to be some uncertainty. I think he's going to be fine. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but I'm not going to come off what I said pregame. It's just not. It's not an environment where you can gauge play calling because they're not saying, "Oh, Cincinnati's playing cover 3, and we're gonna throw out our cover," because they're vanilla, you're vanilla.
Yeah, right.
Nobody's trying to show anything. Jack Taylor's. I was joking about that. Jack Taylor's playing this like he's punting the ball. He's down. It's like it's preseason. Just go for it. So that's some of the things I'll criticize the coach for. But you can't really get much in this game. I talked to Nick after the game. If people were listening to the press conference, he gave a pretty good answer. To me, the coaching staff was about the operation. Was it a clean game? It was a very clean game. You didn't notice a lot of out of the huddle late, hurrying to get the play. So from that standpoint, it was all positive.
Yeah, good stuff. Yep, agreed.
But play calling, there's just nothing you can gain from a preseason game to judge play calling. And by the way, me in general. People don't judge play calls; they judge play results. Right. There were a lot of successful play results. So from that standpoint, he had a great play calling.
John's never taken that bait, no matter what the situation is. I love it. All right, John, a couple other names, and then we'll get you out of here. Jahad Campbell, what'd you think?
Yeah, he had a chance to get an interception, which would have been nice. He didn't. He kind of fumbled it at the end, but and that was a technique. Nick talked about that technique thing, but Small Munden started. I don't know if people noticed that.
Yep, I noticed it.
Smile is, I think, ahead of him right now. So I don't think it's positive. I think, he's got plenty of time to catch up. Ultimately, we all know they want to go in Jahad Campbell's direction, but Trotter played a good game. He had a chance for an interception and didn't get it. It's looking more and more to me. Week 1 starters, Zach Bond. Saw Zach. Zach's fine, by the way. Saw N'Kobe as well. But week 1 starters are going to be Zach Bond and Trot at linebacker.
What did you think of Trotter tonight?
Yeah, I thought he was good. I thought he was
solid. Yep.
I mean, the whole defense was mismatched. I mean, the first 2 series they were.
I know. I mean, it's.
But it's first team offense. Cincinnati.
How fucking good is Joe Burrow, dude?
Oh my! I've been telling people and they don't listen.
Oh my gosh, that guy.
But he was 9-8, Zander. So how could he be the best quarterback? He almost won the damn MVP, not making the playoffs.
That dude can play football.
And he's already.
I don't give a shit what.
And he's already taken that team to the Super Bowl with one of the worst offensive lines in football. He's special, man. He's the best quarterback in football right now, today. And I've been saying that for a while. In my mind, he's surpassed Lamar and Josh Allen. He's the best quarterback in football.
Big statement there from J Mac. John, any other names, man, stuck out to you tonight before we let you run? A couple other things probably, but anything to you? Any other names? Any other guys on defense or offense sticking? I did think it was interesting, John, that the offense had something. I'm going to mute you out real quick. Something's going on behind you, but no problem. I did think it was interesting how well the offense did, and I don't know if it was the full first team offense for Cincinnati. But those first couple of drives, like Tanner was moving the ball right down the field. And I'm like, is this Cincinnati's first team defense? Because they were kind of, and I thought that was pretty impressive the way they managed that part.
Yeah, it was mainly, and they're taking out the trash. They're trying to get us out of here as quickly as possible. Yeah, it was a lot of their first team defense. So I have to look exactly, but it was a lot of it. So yeah, they were impressive. And that was the thing. I think, the Cincinnati offense only had it twice with Burrow, and they scored 2 touchdowns, and you say, all right, this could get ugly. But Tanner kept them right in the game with the first touchdown. By the way, our guy Will Shipley with a 38-yard run.
Yeah, John. Will looked great.
But he didn't, somebody will be out there tomorrow. Well, you didn't get it in the end zone. He's not Saquon. Yeah, nobody's Saquon. But, I don't know how many 38-yard runs Kenny Gainwell had over the past 4 years. But, and then Kenny's a player I like a lot. But, Will's got a chance to be better. And he's a great receiver as well. Again, the one thing I'm concerned about is pass protection. We'll see how that looks. And A.J. Dillon, he looked good. So, I think the Eagles have a nice backup running back situation. Now, while I say that, you don't want them to play that much because obviously you want Saquon on the field. But I think they're in good shape at backup running back.
No doubt. Johnny Mac, great takeaways, great stuff tonight, brother. Get home safely. We'll talk to you in the morning on Birds 365. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. There's Johnny Mac. John McMullen. Give him a follow at JF McMullen on X. Best Eagles reporter in the world. There's no doubt about it. I don't listen to anybody else that reports on the team over John McMullen. All right. And that's not because he works with JAKIB. That was before he worked with JAKIB. That's how he ended up at JAKIB. Okay. So Johnny Mac is the GOAT. Great conversation there. I thought he brought some good thoughts to the conversation, especially about Ringo and the cornerbacks. And I think those are all, perfectly fine. I'm going to be a little harder on Ringo than John is, but I'm good with that. I'm good with the way he explained it. I'm good with the way he kind of not justified it, but I'm good with the way he explained that that's not something where you just you sell because of that, right? And look, sometimes we're fans. We can be a little emotional, so that's what being a fan is. So, but awesome, good explanation. Not going to go much longer tonight. I don't know if I'm going to have a voice in the morning. I've been live for a long time now. This is good prep. It's preseason, right? So once the season gets here, my voice will be warmed up and ready to go, baby. Ready to freaking go. These vocal cords are getting the work that are needed, that is necessary for success in the long season we have coming up. I will end on this note. And give me 1 second because I got to pull the interview that John just did. Epic interview. Love talking to him. Great stuff there. Give me 1 second. I got to